The sound of raindrops tapping against the window was oddly comforting, a steady rhythm that seemed to slow the pounding of my heart. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the neatly folded clothes in front of me, clothes that weren't mine, but which I now had to wear. My fingers trembled as they brushed the silky fabric, the soft pastel skirt, and the delicate blouse. I knew, in that moment, that nothing in my life would ever be the same. I'm Ryan, a 23-year-old graphic designer living in a small but cozy apartment downtown. Normally, my life revolves around computer screens, digital art, and the predictable rhythm of office hours. I never considered myself particularly adventurous, especially when it came to my personal life. But the events that led me here were far from ordinary. It all started 2 months ago with Emma. Not my girlfriend. She's my coworker, my friend, my confidant, but there's a tension between us, something unspoken. She's always been confident, magnetic, the type of person who can fill a room just by walking in. And me? I was quietly observant, careful to remain in the background. That day, everything changed when Lily, the girl who had been the center of an office scandal, came to me in panic. Her reputation was at stake, and I was the only person she trusted enough to help. She had discovered a leak of personal photos and feared they would ruin her career. She needed someone who could step in, someone who could act as her public persona temporarily, to divert attention and buy her time. And somehow, she chose me. "Ryan, I know it's a lot to ask," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of desperation and urgency. "But you can help me. You have to become me, just for a little while. Just long enough to save everything." I froze. The idea was absurd, impossible, and yet, beneath my disbelief, a strange thrill stirred. The thought of stepping into someone else's shoes, literally and figuratively, was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. The first time I saw Lily's wardrobe, I was stunned. Every piece was perfectly feminine: flowing dresses, delicate blouses, skirts that seemed to defy gravity with their softness. The heels, carefully arranged from smallest to largest, gleamed under the soft light. And the makeup? I had never tried more than a dab of concealer, yet here lay an array of foundations, lipsticks, and eyeshadows that could transform any face. "I don't even know if I can do this," I whispered, more to myself than to Lily. "You can," she insisted. "You have to. It's not just about you. It's about me, about my future. If anyone suspects the truth, everything collapses. You'll be the shield, Ryan." And so, reluctantly, I began the preparation. I practiced walking in heels, my steps awkward and uncertain. I experimented with the makeup, each stroke of brush revealing a strange duality in the mirror, a version of me that felt both alien and oddly natural. As I adjusted the wig for the first time, smoothing the strands into place, I caught a glimpse of myself and nearly didn't recognize the reflection. Lily stared back from the mirror, eyes bright, lips curved, confident and composed. But underneath, I could feel Ryan's panic pulsing, a heartbeat that refused to be silenced. The apartment felt smaller than ever, the walls closing in with every step I took in heels, every time I adjusted a blouse or smoothed a skirt. I was trapped between two identities: the quiet, reserved man I had always been, and the poised, alluring woman I was expected to become. Emma's presence added another layer of complexity. She had agreed to help, but her eyes lingered on me longer than necessary, evaluating, judging, perhaps even anticipating my mistakes. There was no judgment in her gaze, only curiosity, mixed with a spark of something I couldn't quite name. Her reactions mattered. They were the benchmark of my success or failure. The first time I tried to speak in Lily's voice, it faltered. The tone was wrong, the pitch too low, and I caught myself coughing, embarrassed. "Relax," Emma said softly, handing me a glass of water. "You'll get it. Just be her. Imagine her confidence, not yours. Step into it fully." And so I tried. Over and over. I learned the tilt of Lily's head, the way her eyes sparkled when she smiled, the subtle sway of her hips that seemed natural and effortless. My body was an instrument I had never played before, and every misstep echoed in my mind like a drumbeat of failure. Yet with each repetition, I felt the persona solidifying, becoming something tangible, something I could almost believe in. It wasn't easy. The transformation demanded everything: my focus, my courage, and my willingness to surrender to an identity that wasn't mine. Each morning, I would wake and stare at the wardrobe, reminding myself of the stakes. This wasn't a game. This was real. Her reputation, her career, her life, all depended on my ability to convincingly become someone else. And yet, as I continued to practice, a strange exhilaration took root. There was power in it, a sense of control I had never known. Ryan's hesitation melted, replaced by the thrill of performance. Each brushstroke of makeup, each adjustment of the skirt, became a ritual, a preparation not just for the world, but for a truth I had yet to understand about myself. By the time the first event arrived, the high-profile charity gala where Lily was expected to make a public appearance, I was ready. Or at least I thought I was. I glanced at the mirror one last time, Emma beside me, her reassuring hand on my shoulder. The reflection staring back was perfect, Lily, poised, flawless. But beneath it all, a flicker of Ryan remained, a quiet reminder that this was still a borrowed identity, fragile and temporary. And as we stepped out into the night, the city lights reflecting off the wet streets, I realized that nothing could have prepared me for what came next. The whispers, the glances, the eyes that seemed to pierce through the fabric of my disguise, they were the real test. And for the first time, I understood what it meant to truly live in someone else's skin. The night of the gala arrived faster than I anticipated. My apartment felt like a small, private theater where I had rehearsed every movement, every expression, and every word I would need to convince the world I was Lily. The clothes lay neatly on my bed, soft silk and chiffon that smelled faintly of perfume, as though waiting for me to awaken the persona trapped inside them. Emma hovered nearby, her presence both reassuring and unnerving. She had become my coach, my witness, and, in some ways, my anchor. "Remember," she said softly, adjusting the hem of the skirt. "You're her now. A confidence isn't optional." I nodded, though my heart thundered in my chest. The heels I wore pinched my toes, forcing me to walk with exaggerated care. I had practiced this countless times, but the stakes tonight made each step feel precarious. One misstep, one wobble, could undo everything. The makeup mirror reflected a version of me I barely recognized. The foundation smoothed the edges of my face, the mascara elongated my lashes, and the soft pink lipstick gave life to lips that weren't really mine. I tilted my head, examining the reflection critically. I was Lily almost, but not quite. The tension between my male identity and this borrowed female self was a constant, invisible tug-of-war. I could feel it in my chest, a tightness that wouldn't release. Anxiety and thrill intertwined, making my palms sweat and my stomach churn. Part of me wanted to flee, to rip off the outfit and retreat to the safety of my old identity. But another part, a braver, stranger part, wanted to sink fully into this role, to experience the rush of living as someone else, even if only for a night. Emma's presence was grounding. "You're doing fine," she whispered. "Just remember, everyone will believe you. You have to believe it too." Belief. That was the key. And yet, doubt crept in with every passing second. What if someone recognized the difference? What if my voice faltered, my gestures betrayed me? Every thought spiraled into a potential disaster scenario. The first real test came as we entered the venue. The gala was a lavish affair, crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, their light refracting in 1,000 directions, sparkling like the pressure I felt settling onto my shoulders. Guests in elegant attire moved gracefully across the polished floor, their laughter and conversation weaving a rich, intoxicating background. I walked beside Emma, heels clicking with each cautious step. The sensation was surreal, the soft sway of my hips, the way the skirt hugged my legs, the weight of the wig that framed my face perfectly. I was performing, yes, but I also felt a strange authenticity in it, as though a part of me truly belonged in the skin. We reached the reception area, and I immediately noticed the curious eyes scanning the crowd. Some lingered a fraction too long. Others whispered discreetly. My throat tightened. Each glance felt like a potential unmasking, and my heartbeat sped. But I couldn't falter.
Not now.
Lily's future depended on my composure. Emma leaned in, her voice calm. Stay focused. Engage, smile, laugh. You've got this. And so I did. I approached guests with practiced grace, nodding, smiling, responding with carefully measured words. Each interaction was a delicate dance. One misstep, and the illusion could shatter. Yet, with each successful exchange, a thrill coursed through me. The applause, the laughter, the compliments, they were intoxicating. And for the first time, I felt what it might be like to command attention effortlessly, to be admired, to exist in the spotlight as someone completely other than Ryan. But the thrill was tempered by constant fear. Every corner, every shadow, every stranger's gaze felt like a potential threat. One man lingered too long, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if detecting the falseness beneath my performance. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile, praying he wouldn't probe further. The first challenge came in the form of a conversation with the host, a meticulous woman who knew Lily personally. She studied me intently, her eyes darting over every detail. Lily, she said finally, her tone polite but cautious, you look different. Is it just the lighting? Panic surged. My voice trembled as I responded, careful to mimic Lily's tone and cadence. No, just the lighting, I guess. My hands shook slightly, though I masked it with a delicate gesture of smoothing my skirt. Emma's hand brushed mine subtly, a grounding touch that reminded me I wasn't entirely alone. You're doing fine, she whispered. Keep it steady. The night continued in a blur of conversations, photo opportunities, and strategic smiles. Each encounter reinforced the duality within me. I was Ryan, aware, anxious, desperate not to be found out, and I was Lily, poised, admired, capable of commanding attention in ways I had never experienced. The line between us blurred with every passing hour. Then came the moment of true suspense. A sudden commotion near the entrance. A group of colleagues, friends of Lily, arrived unexpectedly. Their laughter carried through the hall, and my pulse spiked. Recognition.
Discovery.
Exposure. I froze, heels digging into the polished floor. Emma squeezed my hand, urging me forward. I had to act natural, to blend, to embody Lily completely. The group approached, their eyes scanning the crowd. One woman's gaze lingered on me, and I held my breath. Lily. We didn't expect you so early, she exclaimed, her tone friendly but curious. I smiled, heart racing. Surprise, I replied, doing my best to imitate Lily's casual confidence. My voice was slightly higher than usual, the words carefully measured. The woman's smile returned, and she nodded, apparently convinced. Relief washed over me in a wave, but it was fleeting. The danger of exposure was ever present, lurking just beneath the surface. As the night progressed, each challenge became more intricate. I navigated conversations, avoided revealing gestures, and maintained Lily's mannerisms with precision. The adrenaline was constant, a high-wire act with no safety net. And yet, amid the tension, a strange satisfaction grew. I was capable. I was convincing. I was admired. By the time we left the gala, my body ached from the heels, my face felt heavy from makeup, but my mind buzzed with exhilaration. I had survived, for now. The suspense, the thrill, the fear, they had become intertwined with an unexpected sense of empowerment. Back at the apartment, Emma finally relaxed, her supportive smile confirming what I already suspected. I had done it. I had stepped into Lily's world and emerged intact. But the questions lingered, gnawing at the edges of my mind. How long could I sustain this dual life? How far would I be willing to go to protect someone else's reputation? And most importantly, what was this strange, thrilling identity doing to me? The gala had been a trial by fire, and by the time Ryan, or rather Lily, stepped back into the glittering hall, He realized the real challenge was only beginning. The adrenaline that had sustained him during the initial mingling began to wane, replaced by a creeping sense of exposure that tightened around his chest like a vice. Emma stayed close, whispering subtle reminders. Remember, Lily is confident. Lily is flawless. Just breathe.
Breathe.
The word felt hollow as Ryan's thoughts spiraled. Every glance from a guest, every laugh that carried through the hall, felt like a threat. It was not enough to mimic Lily's mannerisms. He had to anticipate reactions, gauge perceptions, and respond before suspicion could even form. The tension was relentless. Then came the twist, the unexpected obstacle that sent his carefully constructed world into chaos. A familiar voice called from across the room. Ryan froze. Lily? Is that really you? It was Vanessa, a close friend of the real Lily, and someone who had been intimately familiar with her habits, her expressions, her quirks. Recognition in her eyes flashed for a fraction of a second, and Ryan's stomach knotted. Every muscle in his body tensed, and the heels he had so carefully learned to navigate suddenly felt like shackles. Emma's hand squeezed his discreetly, grounding him. Act natural, she whispered. You can do this. Ryan forced a smile, stepping forward with measured grace. Vanessa, what a surprise. I didn't expect to see you tonight. His voice pitched just right, carefully imitating Lily's cadence. Vanessa's eyes lingered, and Ryan felt the sweat bead at his temples. For a moment, time seemed to stretch, the room holding its breath along with him. Then Vanessa's expression softened. Well, you do look different, but I guess it's just the lighting. Relief surged through Ryan, but it was short-lived. The danger wasn't over. It was merely lurking in the next conversation, the next glance, the next photo opportunity. The stakes escalated when a photographer approached, camera clicking, eager to capture the night's elegance. Ryan felt panic rise. Each flash was a potential exposure, a captured moment of deception. He had to pose perfectly, smile convincingly, and never let slip a hint of his real identity. Emma subtly guided him into angles that minimized risk, her presence a lifeline. But the real test came when the gala organizers announced a toast. Everyone gathered, champagne glasses raised, and all eyes turned to the stage. Ryan felt the weight of scrutiny settle upon him. In that moment, every flaw, every hesitation, every misstep could unravel the entire charade. As the speech began, Ryan's attention was drawn to a peculiar detail, a man he had never seen before, seated near the stage, observing him with intense focus. Something in that gaze sent a shiver down his spine. He realized, with a jolt, that the man might know more than he let on. Every word from the speaker felt amplified, every movement magnified. Then it happened, the symbolic moment that amplified the tension beyond anything Ryan had anticipated. As he shifted slightly to adjust his posture, the strap of his dress slipped. A soft gasp escaped him before he could catch it, and he froze, aware of every eye in the room that might have noticed. Emma's sharp glance met his, signaling both panic and reassurance. He tugged the strap back, fingers trembling, but the vulnerability was palpable. For the first time, he truly felt the precariousness of his dual existence. The toast ended, and guests began to mingle again. Ryan moved with careful steps, heart hammering, every smile forced yet precise. The stranger's gaze followed him, a silent threat that made every interaction more perilous. Conversations blurred into a high-stakes dance of deception, each laugh, each nod, a calculated move to maintain the illusion. The climax escalated further when Ryan was approached by Lily's sister, someone whose familiarity with the real Lily's gestures and expressions was uncanny. "You've changed, Lily," she remarked casually, yet Ryan sensed the probing undercurrent. Something's different tonight. Panic threatened to overtake him. He forced a laugh, modulating his voice carefully. "Just trying a new style, you know how it is." The words felt hollow even to him, but she accepted the answer with a nod. Another close call had passed, yet the emotional tension left him drained. Amid the chaos, Ryan noticed a fallen high heel behind a chair, a prop that symbolized his fragile balance. One wrong step, one misjudged movement, and the entire illusion could collapse. Each moment reinforced the stakes. He could not let anyone see him falter, not now, not ever. The final twist of the night arrived unexpectedly. Vanessa returned, her curiosity piqued by some subtle inconsistency she had noticed earlier. "Lily, are you feeling all right? You seem different," she asked, tone light but eyes sharp. Ryan's heart skipped a beat. Emma leaned close, whispering, "Stay calm. Distract her. You've got this." Ryan laughed softly, engaging Vanessa with anecdotes, his body tense, his mind racing. The conversation became a delicate balancing act, keeping her at ease while ensuring no slip of truth escaped. Every fiber of his being focused on maintaining the persona, every instinct honed toward survival in this social battlefield. By the time the gala wound down, Ryan's mind and body were exhausted. He had survived the series of escalating challenges, close calls, and emotional peaks, but the cost was evident. The thrill of transformation was inseparable from the anxiety, the fear of discovery, and the constant tension of living a dual life. Yet, despite the danger, Ryan could not deny the exhilaration that pulsed through him. He had navigated the storm, embodied Lily convincingly, and earned the admiration of everyone around him. But the emotional stakes remained unresolved. Could he sustain this delicate balance? How long before someone truly uncovered the truth? And how would Emma react if the pressures of the evening became too much to bear? The climax left him teetering on the edge, exhilarated, terrified, and more aware than ever of the complexity of the dual identity he had assumed. The gala's lights dimmed as guests began to filter out, laughter and chatter fading into the distance. Ryan, still fully in Lily's persona, felt every muscle in his body tighten with exhaustion. He had survived countless close calls, navigated probing questions, and maintained the illusion with a delicate mix of charm and precision. Yet the adrenaline lingered, a restless pulse beneath his skin, reminding him that the night was far from over. Emma guided him toward the side exit, her hand steady on his elbow. "You did amazing," she whispered. But her eyes held a question Ryan couldn't answer, a worry about the fragile facade that neither of them could shake. As they reached the quiet hallway outside the hall, Ryan's phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from an unknown number glowed on the screen. "I know what you did tonight. Be careful, some secrets are dangerous." Ryan froze, his heart hammering. He glanced at Emma, who frowned and leaned close. "What is it?" she asked softly. But the message alone spoke volumes, a warning that the delicate balance of his double life might already be cracking. He slipped the phone back into his clutch bag, forcing a laugh that came out strained. "Just some random spam," he muttered, though even he didn't believe it. Every instinct screamed danger. The walk to the car felt longer than it was. Shadows stretched across the empty street, the echo of heels against pavement amplifying Ryan's anxiety. Emma's grip on his hand was reassuring, yet even her presence couldn't erase the knot of fear tightening in his stomach. Back at the apartment, the quiet seemed unnatural. The night's events replayed in his mind. Vanessa's gaze, the fallen heel, the subtle probing from Lily's sister, the cryptic message. Each memory carried weight, a reminder that his carefully constructed persona could unravel at any moment. He changed quickly out of the glamorous dress, slipping into more casual attire. The physical transformation back to his male form was jarring, the heels replaced with sneakers, the wig removed, the makeup wiped away, but the emotional residue remained. He was no longer Lily in appearance, yet Lily's influence lingered, a shadow in his thoughts, shaping the way he moved, the way he spoke, the way he felt. Emma sat on the couch, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. "You handled yourself well," she said softly. "But I can tell you're shaken." Ryan sank next to her, rubbing his face with trembling hands. It's not just the gala. There's something else. Someone knows, or at least suspects." "That message," his voice faltered. Emma's eyes darkened with determination. "Then we stay vigilant. You're not alone in this. Whatever comes next, we face it together." A faint creak from the hallway made Ryan stiffen. He held his breath, heart pounding. The apartment was supposed to be empty, quiet, safe. Yet the sound suggested movement, a presence he hadn't anticipated. Slowly, he crept toward the source, each step careful, each breath measured. The living room light flicked on, and there, standing near the window, was a silhouette he didn't recognize. The figure remained silent, unmoving, but the intensity of their gaze sent a shiver down Ryan's spine. Emma stepped in front of him, protective and alert. "Who's there?" she called, voice steady despite the tension. The figure shifted slightly, and a smirk became visible in the dim light. "We need to talk," the stranger said. "About tonight and about who you really are." Ryan felt the room tilt, a wave of panic washing over him. His secret, the identity he had so carefully hidden, the transformation he had endured to protect someone else, was on the verge of exposure. Every strategy, every plan, every precaution could unravel in an instant. Emma's hand found his, squeezing it tightly. "We'll handle this," she said. But Ryan knew in his gut that nothing would be simple. The night's suspense had reached a tipping point, and the consequences of discovery loomed larger than ever. The stranger stepped forward, just enough for Ryan to see their eyes glinting in the dim light. And in that single moment, every fear he had tried to suppress erupted. He was no longer just playing Lily. Now, someone else was holding the power to define him, to reveal him, to change everything. And then, the screen fades to black. The audience is left wondering, who is the stranger? Do they know Ryan's secret? How will Emma and Ryan respond? And most importantly, will Lily survive as a persona, or will the truth finally emerge?